before she was Jinx, she was Powder. And the difference between those two names is one of the saddest stories in animation. But who was Powder? She was just a kid who had already lost way more than anyone her age should, and now she's just trying to find a place to belong, and that place turns out to be with her sister Vi and her adoptive family. But Powder doesn't just struggle with belonging, she struggles with a driving need to prove herself and show everyone, hey, I fit in this crew as well. And this struggle gets her nickname Jinx because every time she goes on a job, it goes wrong. But she's too young to understand that it's not her time to step up yet, and she still has a lot to learn. But this leads her to make an insanely huge mistake, which will change the trajectory of not just her life, but everyone she loves as well. And this only happens because she ignores what Vi tells her. She gets told to stay back while the crew goes and tries to complete this mission, and it goes wrong. So Jinx and her little self thinks this is her chance. So she goes and throws a bomb that she created, thinking she's just going to save her family. But almost the exact opposite happens, and when she gets down to where the explosion happened, she thinks her monkey bomb worked and is very excited, only to realize she's the one who caused the death of her whole entire family. Well, apart from her sister Vi, but we'll get into that in a minute. And what makes this hit so much harder is that we all know she was just trying to help save them, but this mistake sets her down a path I wouldn't wish on anyone. And on top of all of that, Vi connects the dots that Powder was the one who caused the explosion, and she cannot contain her anger. She goes off on Powder, saying,
"Because you're a Jinx, do you hear me?"
and just leaves. But even though she said those words, she didn't fully mean them. But it's too late. When she tried to turn around and go back to Powder, she was taken and locked away. And this is the first moment that we realize Jinx wasn't born a villain. She made the worst mistake possible and was left to deal with all of the emotions alone. Well, not for long, because enter a guy named Silco, who comes and takes Powder in. And Powder? She's now going by what Vi called her, Jinx. And Silco doesn't just accept Jinx, he validates her broken identity, and they are more similar at face value than you might first think, because both are broken, both were betrayed by someone they loved. And what makes this hit even harder is who Silco actually was to Vander, and he was Vander's best friend before being betrayed and left for dead by him. And on top of that, he also knew their biological parents, like their mom Felicia, and was actually there the night that she revealed that she was pregnant. So when he finds Powder broken and alone, he isn't just looking at some random kid, he's looking at Felicia's daughter. And that's a huge reason why he opened his heart to Jinx as fast as he did. So Jinx, all alone, latched onto the first person who showed up, and she attached to him the same way she attached to Vi after their parents passed away. And that's when we realize every destructive thing she does under Silco is rooted in not wanting to be left again, and that just hits so hard. And through all of this, Silco and Jinx kind of actually build something real together, and there's this moment where it's just the two of them, and for the first moment in a long time, Jinx feels actually seen, not fixed, not being managed, just seen. And Silco even tells her in the moment,
Jinx is perfect.
and for someone who has spent her whole life feeling like a mistake, you realize really fast that Silco actually does kind of care for her, even in his own twisted way. And this makes the moment when she ends up killing Silco hit so much harder, because yes, she panicked and chose to save Vi from him, but I also think this is one of the first times that we see Powder take the wheel from Jinx, even if only for a single moment. And even though she saved Vi, this doesn't mean she becomes Powder all over again. Actually, it did the exact opposite and made her more Jinx, because once again, she had to make an impossible choice between two people she loved. And as soon as she accepts that Powder might be gone, she chooses to repeat her greatest mistake. But this time, it's not an accident or something that just happened. She chooses to take out the council. And this has to be the most emotional moment in the entire show, because not only did Jinx kill over half the council, she also killed any chance of her returning to the life that she once had. This was the moment that she can never go back from. And just when things couldn't get any worse, her past literally comes back as a monster. Like, no, literally. Because Vander returns, but something is off because he's a full-on Warwick now. And it turns out the entire time he has been dead, he was actually getting mutated into this beast by some mad scientist. And the emotional whiplash Jinx has during his return is crazy because she just killed her other father figure Silco, and with her past coming back, Jinx gets caught between two worlds. And you can really tell Powder keeps trying to come out of Jinx, and Jinx just shoves her back down like Powder's some sort of poison trying to take over. And this push and pull between the two personalities is insanely compelling, and you can even see it in the scenes where no big action is happening. Like, Jinx will just be there talking, and her voice and her posture and her whole demeanor will just change, and it's kind of chilling, I'm not gonna lie. And this all stems from Vi, because Vi represents everything Jinx wanted to go back to, but way too much has happened since then, and too much damage has been done. So all they can do is try to move forward with the scars that they already have. And this timing on Jinx wanting to do better was almost perfect, because right at the start of season 2, Jinx meets an orphan named Aisha, and she actually adopts her, and for a while everything works great. They get along very well, and Jinx finally feels like, again, she has another sense of normal, even though everything surrounding their circumstances, like her and Silco's, is the furthest thing from normal. But this gives reason for Powder to start slipping out more, like Jinx is starting to loosen up again. And another little thing I want to point out is that Aisha is actually a mute, so with Aisha, Jinx doesn't have to worry about miscommunication or overthinking or taking something the wrong way. They just have a great connection and they both love each other. So for a moment there, you start to think maybe Jinx can break the cycle, until we see one of the most heartbreaking moments in this story. And Vi and Jinx actually reconciled as much as they can, and they even get Vander back, even for just that small moment, and everything is working out and looking great. But this doesn't last long because Vander loses control and he goes after Jinx. And seeing this, Aisha takes her moment to step up just like a young Jinx did, except this time the only person getting put in danger is her, because she doesn't even hesitate to go right at Vander and sacrifice herself to save her adoptive mother. And this moment makes you literally step back for a second and think, like, can Jinx ever hold on to her love or find a sense of normal, or actually hold on to the people she cares about? Because every time she gets something new or makes a genuine connection, it all leads to the same road, losing that person. And at this moment, it doesn't even feel like a coincidence anymore. And everything I've said in this video this far comes down to one final moment on that ledge, where Vi can't bring herself to let Vander go again, even though he's already fully gone. So Powder takes control, and she can see it clearly now, and she steps up one last time, choosing to sacrifice herself for the person she's always cared for more than anybody else, because at that moment there wasn't a difference between Jinx and Powder anymore. She was always Powder, she just didn't know it. And I think that Powder does the most Jinx thing she possibly could have done in this moment, not because she wanted to die, but because even at the very end she was still trying to protect the one person she never stopped loving. And I'll add this really quick, this show leaves her death slightly ambiguous, with that one final scene hinting at how she might have survived, but personally I do think she's dead, even though they leave it slightly open, showing the vent at the end. So was Jinx the villain the whole time? No, she was just a kid who made a mistake and was failed by every system and every person that should have caught her. But they left her to deal with all of the pain alone, whether it was intentional or not. And this doesn't excuse what she becomes or any of the choices she made, let me make that clear, but it explains every step along the way. And drop a comment down below, do you agree with my take on Jinx as a character and her arc? And if you're new here, stick around, we talk about stuff like this all the time, and as always, stay curious and keep the conversation going.